Okay, let's take a look at the 5-10-5 or the short shuttle or pro agility test here. And just kind of watching that half speed, just get a sense for what we're looking at. One of the things right off the bat I like to look at in this test is, and I'll use the Spark Motion adjustable grid here to point this out, but what position are the lower legs in relation to the shoulders? And so if we look by using the grid here and we expand that out a little bit so it's just about as wide as the shoulders, we can see the lower legs are significantly wider than the shoulders. And that's important for not so much this backside leg here, because he's going to be going to the right. So this backside leg is in what we call a positive shin angle, but this front side leg is in a negative shin angle. So that's going to apply, if he actually puts force into the ground, pressure into the ground here, it's going to apply a negative braking force. And so that's something that will affect how much use he gets out of this front leg. One, he's got to overcome that negative shin angle, make it positive, make it neutral, and then positive. But in the time that takes, that will affect how much push he gets off that front foot. So he is getting a little bit of a push off of it, but if that shin was set up a little bit closer under the base of support, as well as this one, he'd be able to access both legs a little bit more evenly. And then another way that we could use the Spark Motion adjustable grid here is to line it up so that it's slightly above the head, and then we can see how much the athlete rises up above that line over the course of the first 5 yards. And that's important because that's wasted motion. You're only traveling 5 yards here, so the more vertical you get, the more you have to vertical above the line, you have to also go vertically below the line, which causes you to decelerate more, and it affects your time getting in and out of that transition. It slows you down. So, especially for taller athletes, this is something to be aware of, and I find this grid to be really useful to point that out so they can see actually how much they're standing up in that first 5 yards. And then here I'm using the shape tool, and I just change that into a line, from an arrow to a line, and I'm using that just for the simple purpose of extending somewhat of a straight line out from the cone, so we can actually see if the athlete goes beyond the line there. So because this is such a quick drill and tenths and hundredths of a second are important, you want to minimize any type of wasted motion. So anytime you go beyond 5 yards, that's wasted motion. He only needs to go 5 yards here, so he should actually be decelerating before he gets to that line, hit that kick slide there before that red line instead of going beyond it, and then he would save some time in that first transition. And then here I took the same line and just moved it over to the other cone, extended it out a little bit, and it's not super accurate here, but it's pretty close. It'll just give us a sense of where he's at. As you can see, again, he clearly goes beyond the line, and so again we lost time in that first transition, and then we lost time in the second transition. So those are just some things to be aware of. It's a great way to use the Spark Motion tools to analyze and break down this particular shuttle, and it's a great way to show athletes specifically the areas they need to work on to improve this test.